ask the honourable member from Tyne Valley Sherbrooke to start the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On September 10th, 2020, Lucy Markunas contacted me to let me know she was going to die. Lucy has an extremely rare form of cancer, collecting duct carcinoma, and though the medication prescribed by her oncologist is covered on the provincial formulary, her request to access funding for this medication was denied. The medication, nivolumab, I might have how you say that wrong, but costs approximately $7,000 a treatment. Lucy and her family have been able to cover the cost of her first treatments for this medication, and the results were extremely promising. However, there was no way she could afford to pay for this medication moving forward, and without it, she likely had only a few months, if not weeks, to live. Lucy reached out to me as the opposition critic for health and wellness, but she told me she didn't expect that I would be able to do anything about this, and certainly not before she passed away from her illness. She wanted to share this so I could do something or try to do something so that others may not have the same experience. Over the following weeks, we worked to first get clarity on what the criteria were exactly that her condition didn't meet. The letter Lucy received in response to her request was vague, providing no further evidence as to how this life or death decision had been made. We then scoured the most recent literature and research to find out what experts were recommending in cases like Lucy's. What we discovered is that the Canadian Agency for Drugs and Technologies in Health, CADTH, are the expert reviewers on which the PEI formulary base many of their funding decisions. CADTH usually base their recommendations on large-scale clinical trials, and the PEI formulary often follows their expert advice. However, in Lucy's case, PEI missed a critical recommendation from CADTH, from their Pan-Canadian Oncology Drug Review. They recommended that this drug be made available to patients with very rare cancers such as Lucy's, even with the absence of a large clinical trial. The small numbers of patients with rare diseases such as this make large clinical trials extremely, if not impossible, to hold. Therefore, CADTH often recommends that although large randomized studies are very limited for many rare diseases, treatment should be provided if it poses greater benefit to advanced stage patients than risk. This is a practical and important gap in our current provincial formulary's approach to defining criteria that are the requirement for basing these decisions. The simple fact that a disease may be too rare to test in large-scale studies drastically limits a physician's ability to prescribe and treat effectively. Lucy did not get to choose the type of cancer she is battling. And this medication was prescribed by her doctor and has greatly improved her quality of life and may even save it. The CADTH Pan-Canadian Oncology Drug Review recognizes that studies for cancers this rare are extremely difficult to complete. Lucy should be given the same chance to live as those with rare cancers, and there should be clearly defined processes to similarly assess other rare diseases. Additionally, basic consideration that those making medication requests that may be life or death decisions deserve to know how and why a decision has been made. A transparent and thoughtful response justified by research and evidence. While I am absolutely thrilled that Lucy's medication will now be covered and she will have a chance to live and thrive, it is incredibly frustrating that she had to take her very personal situation public to finally result in action. I can't imagine what it must have felt like to bring that fight to the media, requiring a level of bravery and self-sacrifice that no one should be forced to muster. That Lucy had to fight so hard to be given the chance to live when the medication she required was already on the provincial formulary, and she should have had access from the beginning, is heartbreaking. Like Lucy, I want to make sure that no Islander facing a rare disease has to face this again. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.